All right, today I want to talk about our biggest setback, and I'm going to be very vulnerable with you guys and just share the reality of a lot of things that's happened in our life, but specifically one big one. I want to start this off by explaining, like, this is not a victim mentality that we're operating with, and you'll see that as we kind of talk a little more about this. But I do want to share the details of how sensitive this situation is, and I share that intentionally because I know people are going through a lot in different little, areas of life. And I want to make sure that you understand, even people that have made it, have, done some crazy things like we have financially. It doesn't mean like we aren't human. It doesn't mean that we don't go through things. It doesn't mean that we don't have to overcome a ton of challenges to get and stay where we're at. So, I'm 33 today when I'm speaking to you. 3.5 years ago at this point in time, we had our first daughter, Logan. Now, I want to set the stage as to where we were at this point in time. So 3 weeks before she came into this world, so September 4th is her birthday. In August, I think it was August 10th in particular, August 10th, I quit my 9 to 5. This was a huge, huge deal. Like, this was not just like a very small feat. Like, this was ongoing for 2 to 3 years. So I started Budget Dog in 2019. And I really wanted to pursue that over time. And so by 2021, this was August 10th of 2021, I decided to quit my job to pursue this full time, to be able to give back as many people as I could. And we were in a good financial position where we could easily do that. So nonetheless, leaving the W-2, taking away that paycheck that I was so used to having, it was a big adjustment. Now, I can tell you exactly how my emotions played out. So the first week I literally quit my job. We paid off our house that same week, and I went to California to celebrate Chris Johnson's 30th birthday on a yacht. So it was like the Instagram lifestyle kind of thing for a second. It felt like crazy. I was like flying across the nation, just paid off my house, just quit my my Deloitte job. And I felt like on top of the world. And there was a lot of like momentum, motivation, feel good type of scenario. But I had a lot of like dopamine, and I didn't come down from that right off the bat because it was like just all new. And then we went straight into having my daughter at September 4th, which was the best blessing in the world. And then all of a sudden I realized, not only am I the sole provider at this point in time pretty much, but I got to make sure, my wife was obviously on maternity leave at the time. She was still working her W-2. But I got to like really, really take care of the family now. Like, this is a big deal. Like, obviously my wife was working still, but like the goal was for her to get out of the 9 to 5 to stay home with our daughter. And, what you would think was a perfect plan turned into a crazy thing. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So 5 months into this journey, I'm going through a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of change. Like, having a new kid obviously is a big deal, but then there were some things that we just didn't really fully understand were happening with Logan, but there was no like actual conclusion. All the doctors said, hey, perfectly fine. But we just knew in our parent sense that there was something off. So there was a little bit of anxiety there. There was also, getting a different type of pay structure now. It wasn't the drug I was fed for 12 years or 7 years before that. Really 12 if you look back to like my 16-year-old days at Skyline Chili and like all my restaurant jobs. I was getting paid on a consistent basis. And this was a big change. And I'm very like type A, consistent type of person. So like this for me was a big shakeup mentally. And I wasn't used to like entrepreneurship. And so I'm going through all sorts of, turmoil internally. And all in all, we're doing very well. And, from an outside perspective, looks totally fine. But under the surface, it was a big challenge mentally. Then in January, I think it was January 31st of 2022, my daughter had a seizure. So I'm literally 6 p.m. I think it was like I want to say it was a Thursday night, Friday night. I'm about to present to a company. I get out of the shower. I'm about to present to this company on Zoom. And it was probably about 20 minutes away. And obviously I was very prepared. And so literally, as soon as I get out of the shower, I hear Aaron yell, Brennan, something's wrong with Logan. And I'm like, this is, obviously I'm like, I gotta go check. We've never experienced anything, but like something in my gut, like said something's not right, like this whole time. And then like that scream that I heard from my wife was just different. And I was like, I don't love to hear that. So I went outside and she, or out in the family room, and she was having a seizure, but we didn't really know what a seizure looked like. So it was a little weird at first. But she was having a full blown seizure. And so I called 911 right away. And I'm talking to 911. Obviously, I'm supposed to be presenting to a company in like 10 minutes at this point in time. And they say, hey, rush her to the hospital. So we rush her to the hospital. We get in the car. I'm speeding down, 75 and a 60 or whatever the case is. A cop, we literally blow past a cop, and he turns on his lights. I'm like, I can't stop. Like, I cannot stop. She's having a seizure. So I turn on my emergency. My wife calls 911 and just alerts them, hey, we're not trying to run from this cop. We're trying to get our daughter to hospital. So we get up to the stoplight, and he whips around and then, gets us through traffic and brings us to the emergency room. Obviously, I get my wife out, my daughter out, and they rush in. And the cop stops me and goes, you aren't able to do that. I go, listen, dude, I don't care. Like, straight up to his face. I was like, I don't care. I was like, right now, my only focus, I was like, give me a ticket, do whatever you need to do, but I need to make sure my daughter is safe and sound. So she gets rushed in. 12 nurses, doctors come running out. It's the literal like movie scene. And he goes on his way. He's cool with it. He's like, I understand. Just make sure you don't speed next time. I get it, but I'm going to speed next time my daughter has a seizure. So, it wasn't like we were reckless, out of control. We were going 15 over. So, we get there, we get to the doctor, obviously we stop the seizure. Everything is kind of like more chill at that point in time. And we're sitting there like, kind of like, what just happened? And the doctors kind of say like, hey, this is kind of normal for kids to deal with. And we still are sitting there like, this is not normal. Like, there's something going on here. We've sensed it since day one. I remember specifically the day she was born. She was getting a bath. The nurse was giving her a bath, her first bath, and she was blood curling, screaming. And I've been around kids my whole life. I had 3 younger brothers. I'm 10. My youngest brother is 10 years younger than me. So I like grew up going to the hospital for my little brothers. One's 8 years younger, one's 10 years younger. So I've experienced this real time in my own house. I've also had tons of cousins. Like, this was not a normal cry. And I actually asked the nurse, I was like, hey, is that normal? Like, I feel like that's not normal. And the second I saw Logan, I just, there was just something different, and I couldn't explain it, but everybody kept saying we're healthy, we're just overreacting, we're first-time parents. It's like, no, like, I'm pretty chill when it comes to children. Like, there's something off. And so we were right. And obviously at that time, like, they were all, neglecting or just saying whatever, go on with your day, you're just overreactive. Parents, even our own parents said that, and, people in our circle were like, you guys are being overreactive. We weren't. And she obviously was diagnosed with, that day she was not diagnosed, but the next day they said to go home, and then within 24 hours, if she has a seizure, we'll have another conversation. And of course that happened. And that's when it all started flaring up. The vaccines, she had a vaccine a couple of weeks before. No, the vaccines do not cause Dravet syndrome, just for any health geek that wants to challenge me on that. But did it spur it? Yes. Did it contribute to like speeding this process up, to it showing its ugly head? Yes. And so, I'll keep my stance on vaccines out of this conversation because I know it gets heated. So anyways, we go through that process. We get diagnosed with Dravet syndrome. We get like all the tests done. And honestly, the Cincinnati doctors at the time and Cincinnati Children's kind of downplayed this whole scenario. Very much so downplayed it, to the point where I wasn't really that concerned leaving the hospital. And it was like a doctor in training and stuff like that. And they were going through their beginning stages. So they didn't really relay it the way like the severity actually was. Now, we got home. We're sitting on our porch. My daughter he's going to take a nap. My wife breaks down. And we're literally sitting on the porch. And I'm like, listen, whatever this is, I don't know what this is at this point in time. Like, supposedly it's Dravet syndrome. We're researching. We don't really know fully like what that means. Whatever it is, we'll get through it. And obviously, your firstborn child having a 1 in 16,000 syndrome is not what you put on the plate. I just quit my 9 to 5. There's obviously anxiety. There's obviously nerves, lots of emotion. And we just didn't know where we were at that point in time. Naturally, what did my wife want to do? Stay at home, because she wanted to stay home at a quicker rate because of what was going on with the situation, which is very normal. And so naturally, what comes next is I have to provide to make sure she can stay home. So for the next like 6 or 7 months, I think I was on a podcast. It was pretty cool, actually. I was on a podcast even before this time in October. It was like mid-October or whatever. And of the year before, 2021, right when I quit my job. And I told Todd on his podcast, Charles, actually, his real name is, I said, listen, I'm going to retire my wife from the 9 to 5 within 1 year or less. So we get this diagnosis. We start going through all these challenges. There's seizures. she's working a sales job. I'm staying at home trying to build Budget Dog, but I'm also staying home with Logan full time as well during the day. My wife would then, I would stay with her from, let's call it 7 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. My wife would get home. We would switch duties. So I would take care of Logan throughout the day. Aaron would get home at like 4 or 5 o'clock, whatever, at the end of the day, and she would start taking care of Logan. Now, Dravet syndrome is a very big challenge. So when I was taking care of her and also trying to build a business, it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing in the world. Can't just put a kid down for a nap. You know what I did? I held her in my arms for 3 hours because kids with Dravet syndrome struggle for sleeping. And so I literally would get in a pitch black room, blackout curtains, sit in a chair. I would hold her in my right arm. My right arm would get really, really strong, and or my left arm actually, in fact, because I had my right arm had my phone in it, and I would just literally hold her for 2 hours, 3 hours every single day. I would obviously feed her. I would obviously be extremely attentive. It wasn't like I could like be distracted. I had the dad vest on so I could like at least walk around with her, which was good for her at that age. And, I was working a lot out of my phone. And as soon as my wife got home, I would switch duty. I would make sure I go, take care of business. I would get on phone calls with people, my students, all that stuff. I would take, calls to join the academy. I made sure I worked out in the beginning of the day, like early, 5 a.m. before my wife even left for work. So I got my workout in. I then watched her for the whole day. And then I would transfer over to building the business. And that would be from 5 to almost 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. So pretty much a full day, 8-hour day. On that end, 4 to 12, in fact. And then I would sleep for 5-6 hours. And during that sleep, she would wake up, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Like, because it was not a normal baby sleeping. Different situation. We've had the other situation since then. And the situation is vastly different. Ellie, our other daughter, will sleep all night, maybe wake up once or twice, kind of roll over, maybe need something, but super easy. So I think it's funny when parents complain about sleep. Because even during this time, like we just got over it. We just said, hey, this is our life. This is what we're going to adjust to, and we're going to overcome this. And so we would go through that challenge, and we would not get sleep, but it was just part of the game. It's just part of what would happen. And so as we worked through this challenge, we got to the point where in July of that year, we were told that we met this doctor in Dallas, which was a top 3 nation specialist. And that nation specialist specifically said, you guys should move down here to Dallas. And we lived in Cincinnati, Ohio, Northern Kentucky area for a whole 30 years. And, I remember sitting on the porch, we were eating pizza and having some wine that night, kind of decompressing. And we got that email from the doctor. He said, hey, this big Dravet all-in-one comprehensive center is going to be opening down here. It would be very well worth your time to make the move. And for the first time, I was like, I was like, we're going to move. Like, I remember specifically that time was like very like clear, but very like unknown and scary. Like, we were just going to uproot our life. Like, that was not what was in the plans. I wasn't going to be an entrepreneur. I wasn't going to move across the country. We weren't going to have this situation. And this is all in a matter of months. And I was like, we got to move, like point blank. Like, I don't know, like we're going to move. So we started planning this out. And so it was June of 2022. And we said, hey, by October of 2023, when the actual Justice Center opens in Dallas, Texas, DFW area, we're going to be down there. And so that happened a lot quicker. To the point we were there in Dallas by January 1st, 2023. We actually sold our house. We bought a house online. October of 2022, literally a couple months after we had this discussion. We were supposed to wait for a whole year and a half, and because we were just ready to go. And so I remember specifically it was my wife was going to plan on working for quite some time until we could make that move. She was going to stay at home. Obviously, I was trying to make a big adjustment internally, build the business, get it to where it needs to be, to the point we obviously became financially free, but at the time we weren't financially free. We relied on income. And so it was a different stage of our life. And, my wife was able to, we were driving up to Michigan for one of her conferences, and Logan's in the back of the car, snowing like crazy. You guys know Michigan snow. We get up to Michigan, and I'm talking like it was potential threat of getting stuck on the interstate type deal. Like, that's how severe the ice and snow were. So what we did I literally said, hey, listen, They were talking about, their company was talking about maybe canceling, maybe not. I said, listen, you aren't going up there. I'm not getting stuck on this highway, this interstate with Logan and her having a seizure, and we don't have emergency meds at the time. I'm not doing it. It's not worth it. You're quitting your job right now. I was like, are you done? Are you good with that? She was like, yeah, of course. And at that moment, we decided she was going to quit her 9 to 5. I didn't have a plan, just so you know. Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, cool, we're going to be fine. Like, everything's good. Like, I didn't have a plan. But it was for the betterment of Logan. It was for her to have her mom at home. I whipped the car, like, literally at that moment, I said, okay, we're getting off the expressway. We literally got off the exit. We turned around. We headed home. And then Erin, obviously didn't tell her boss she was going to quit right then, but she had that conversation that week and she quit her job. And that was a big deal. And so we literally traveled up to Michigan, decided to quit the job on the fly, move across the nation. We literally bought a house a couple weeks later online. We just searched online. We're like, we just need to get there. We don't care what the house is like. That's literally very minor priority. We knew the area decent because her sister lived down here. We said we just need to find a house. The house was decent enough. Her sister walked through it for us physically, and we just were like, okay, we're moving. So we get down here to Dallas, and in January 2023, and we think everything's good. We're building the business now. I can focus more on the business because Erin's staying home with Logan. There's a lot of challenges there still, but she goes seizure free for 8 months. And, throughout this whole entire time, I've talked very minor about building a business, but building a business is not an easy thing. In the hospital, most of the time when I was there, because we lived there 2022, I kind of skipped over that story. We'd be in the hospital for seizures all the time. We were staying there for weeks at a time, like sleeping there. And I would be building the business in the bed, the hospital bed with, total wreck, feeling a mess, and being on my computer. And, obviously Logan's being taken care of by doctors, my wife there. And obviously I'm helping out where needed, but I'm building this business in the hospital, all of 2022. You have to have grit. You have to have passion and determination to do that. Everything came our way. Everything came our way. We decided to quit this job, which was a big deal at the time, my W-2 job. And all of a sudden, within a matter of months, my wife's out. My daughter's diagnosed with a 1 in 16,000 syndrome, Dravet syndrome. My wife is now leaving her 9 to 5, and there's pressure for me to make sure that happens. I'm building a business from scratch. I've never done that. I don't have people that have come before me. I don't have a dad that's run a business that can help me with these things. I'm doing this on my own. I'm figuring this out. The amount of stress and pressure in that situation was insurmountable. But the thing I always went back to was basically, are you going to quit and give up because it's hard? That was constantly the question I was going to go back to. Are you going to quit because it's hard? Like, really? That's how easy it is to give up. You bend at the second things get hard. And sure, our situation was much harder than a lot of people's situation. I could sit there and be a victim. I could sit there and cry. I could sit there and, be a wuss. But my family relied on me. And so the thing is, at that point in time, especially as a father, and, I'm not speaking to all fathers, but for fathers out there, you guys know that pressure. It's in our DNA. And so being able to push through that, it's not easy, but it's worth it. And so I think a lot of people, look at these situations and they're like, yeah, I can push through it, or I'll push through it when times get tough. And then times get tough and they fold and they're weak. You got to train your mind to be able to withstand anything. And so your family's life's on the line. Your literal daughter's life's on the line. What are you going to do? So a lot of parents out there, they might not have this amount of pressure. And I get it. You might not have the situation we had. I hope you don't, to be honest. It was to the point where you breakdowns are normal. But the thing is, just because you break down doesn't mean you don't get back up. Just because you get hit 1 time or 2 times or 3 times doesn't mean you don't get up. One of the company values at Budget Dog is get hit 8 times, get up 9 times, because you don't give up. You don't lose. That is a non-negotiable it should be a non-negotiable in your world. And when you make that a non-negotiable in your world, you'll start to win. is you don't lose. That's the operation that's the mindset we have. And so not only did we build a extremely successful business that has impacted thousands and thousands and millions, in fact, probably of lives, people we haven't even worked with, just the content we put out there. But we have decided to win throughout this whole entire situation, no matter how many times we get hit. And the thing is, as you're working through these challenges, like, you're not going to have emotions that feel inspiring. You're going to have emotions that feel like upset, sad, depression. Like, you're going to feel these things. But if you give into those negative feelings, you're not going to do anything with your life. And I've been taking a course online called Kabbalah through David Guillaume. And one thing he talks about is, like, the creator, in short, I'll kind of give you the summary version. The creator is the sense of the source of light. And if you have a negative or bad experience, that's the creator giving you an opportunity to experience greatness on the other side. If you can't experience, anxiety, you can't experience calmness. If you can't experience sadness, you can't experience happiness. If you can't experience pain, you can't experience the good, the feel good of winning. You have to experience the bad to appreciate the good. So every time a challenge is presented, you should have you should look at that as an opportunity that you can only improve your life. And that because you have that perspective of the bad, you now will have the perspective of the good. And I think that puts you in a different mindset. And I think that helps you get through those tough times, because those tough times are going to continue to come. And so I can even speak to you up to this given day of the challenges I've faced. I will tell you this, and this is very transparent and raw, but we went through, this is even more stuff to happen. So we got down to Texas to continue the story. We went 8 months seizure free. We were like on cloud nine. Like, we moved across the country. We made this transition. The business is doing really well. Aaron's staying at home. We lived in the perfect neighborhood, no, debt free, financially free, all that kind of stuff. And we're like, wow, things are really working. She had her first seizure. We attributed it to an eye appointment the day before. Wasn't the end of the world. Kind of a setback, but not the end of the world. We're used to much more setback than that. And so that was our first seizure in 2023. Followed up by another one about a month later, and another one a month later. And so things started taking a tumble. And up until about 3 or 4 months ago, we didn't know what was happening. And in 2024, she had 15 seizures. Now, for those that don't understand Dravet syndrome or epilepsy or seizures are one part of it. Like, I don't even think my family understands this. Like, seizures are a challenge. Don't get me wrong. 15 seizures, more than one a month is not a good thing. She had 20, for reference, she had 22 in 2022. She had 3 in 2023. We thought we were on the uptrend, but that was actually the back end of 2023 when they started going downhill. And then 2024, we up to 15. Now, in 2025, we've actually only had 1. Cross our fingers, but we're working through this and we're on the upswing because of all the work we put in. So in 2024, all of a sudden at the very end, we were having significant issues with her, like really bad situations. So during 2024, because of that, we're proactive. We figure a way to win, like just in line with what I'm talking about today. We don't lose. So mid-2024, she's having more issues. We're not just going to go to the doctor. We're going to find every freaking resource possible. So my wife's researching, I'm researching. We figure out this functional neurologist in Iowa. And Josh Madsen is his name, and he's phenomenal. If you guys are looking for anybody with disabilities of any sort, contact Josh Madsen. It's called Infinity in Iowa. Infinity Neurology, I think it's called, in Iowa. Phenomenal place. We're going to be going up there in a couple weeks, actually, in fact. And so we found Josh, and he actually said, hey, get a blood and urine test. We got a blood and urine test. Logan took the test. It came back with sky-high levels of mold and mycotoxins. Come to find out, we're living in a house of mold and mycotoxins. As you see that's serious. This is real shit. I'm talking to you guys real time. You see people walking behind me right now. If you're not listening to this, if you're watching this, you've been seeing people walk behind me in this house. Guess what? This is tempo air outside of my window right now. They are installing a dehumidifier in our new house that we bought. So we had mold and mycotoxins in December of 2024. We found out. Total shock. No water damage, brand new house. We come to find out this is a very common issue in Texas in HVACs. And of course, we're the 1% that are impacted because my daughter has neurological issues. And so they say, hey, get a mold and mycotoxin test. We get the mold and mycotoxin test. Boom, we have sky high issue in our house. We're also in Iowa at the functional neurologist when we find this out. So we leave November 30th. We get back December 14th. And on the way back, the doctor says, hey, you can't go back to your house. You have to move. You have to leave. So we did not go back to our house. We had a suitcase of clothes. We lost everything in our house, literally gone. Goodbye. Peace out. Lost everything. Insurance doesn't cover this. If you're living in Texas, you probably should check this. Insurance doesn't cover this. Builder doesn't give a shit. And you're on your own. And we have this $500,000 beautiful house that was just swept out from underneath us. Talk about stress. We get up to Iowa. We have an emergency plane landing because my daughter's almost about to have a seizure on the plane when we land. We exit that plane. It was a 2-week sprint through this this therapy that was really, really challenging. And the only thing we wanted was to get back into Texas, to feel like we have a stable place, and just to get back to normal. And we come to find out our whole house was just taken from us. To stomach that was a lot. But the thing is, like anytime else, we're just going to figure it out. We're going to win. So instead of sitting there bitching and moaning, pardon my language, we just figured out what the next step was. So I started looking on Redfin for houses, started looking in the neighborhood for houses. We offered a house within about 3-week period. So we get back. Thank God that my parents actually, you can see people behind me right now, right? They're installing the dehumidifiers in this house, so this does not happen again in our new house. And so we get back to Texas, and luckily my parents actually bought a house. Weirdly enough, it's like a sign from God. In October, in that October time, they did not move down here. They aren't moving down till like in 2025 time. So they bought it, so it's kind of sitting there. So it has no furniture, has nothing, but we were able to at least have a spot to go to. And again, we slept on air mattresses. Like the girls just had like their stuff that they had. Logan has like a black, like blackout type of mat they were laying on. And it was not comfortable by any means, but we had a place to go, at least a place to shower. But it had no stability. There was, it was different. The girls came back to not their own house. There was a lot of challenges. And for anyone that knows Dravet syndrome or epilepsy, like the sensitivity of it is insane. I'm not going to go into the details, but like light's a sensitivity, like water's a sensitivity, like temperature's a sensitivity, sound's a sensitivity. So like if you don't have like your spot with what it's very hard. With an open house with no floor, with no carpet, it was just like super loud, and like that was a whole challenge in itself, and like keeping her calm and walking her, total disaster. We had, I was sitting out in the main room, the girls are screaming, crying all day. I'm trying to build the business still. It was insane. But we also just lost our house. So Christmas of this past year, my wife and I are over there at nighttime with masks on because we have to clean and get everything out of this house. We have to have junk removal come. Everything's gone. We're cleaning our dishes, the things that we can keep like hard surface stuff. Everything else in that house was totally gone. Like we lost everything. Our couches gone. Like we can't sell these things because they have mycotoxins. Gone. Beds gone. Literally everything you could think of gone. And so we lost everything, and insurance there's no claim for insurance to care. So we lost, let's say roughly $50,000 of that. We have remediation costs because we have to fix the house because it has a major issue, to sell the house. So we get the remediation done, tons of money there. We had to buy a new house. And because of the situation we're in a neighborhood where our parents moved to this neighborhood because it's a big, beautiful neighborhood for Logan. They want to be close access. So it's not like we have the ability to just go move anywhere in Dallas. We also need to be close to the doctor. Like there's a lot of factors in our situation where we had to be here. Any house in this neighborhood, we were looking close to $1 million. And so that was the reality of our situation. So we were in a $500,000 house. I'm like, there's 4 houses on this market right now. It's not very sellable. There's not many options. We got to figure out. So we put an offer on this house. Beautiful house. Get to the conclusion, like we were comfortable with the price where it ended up at. We're going to pay cash for it. Everything's good. Contingent upon a mold and mycotoxin test. This is real life stuff, guys. This is because I'm telling you guys, this is what happens to win. A Thursday in January, we're sitting in my parents' house. Heart rate spikes to 203. We have zero clue what's going on. This is not normal. Call 911. They come rushing. There's an ice storm that happens to be in Dallas at that literal day. The whole week, we know Logan's a little off. We brought the dogs back. They had mycotoxins on their fur. It spurred up a seizure one time. It was like we had to shave them. We had to keep them in the garage. It couldn't bring any clothes, lost all of our clothes. Anytime we brought something over from the old house, like symptoms would appear. We had air doctors in the house. Like my wife had symptoms. I had symptoms. My little daughter had symptoms. Logan had symptoms. And her heart rate spikes to 203 on the exact day. I'm like, please, nothing happened. Of course it happens, and it's during an ice storm. And, in Dallas, you guys know how ice storms are. You can't go around real fast on the roads. We get her to the hospital. We're waiting. Remember, this whole offer in this house was contingent upon a mold mycotoxin test. We're sitting there. We finally get there. It's at 2 p.m. Nobody's even at the hospital because it's an ice storm. Erin gets the mycotoxin and mold DNA test back, and she goes, "Are you shitting me?" And I go, "What?" She said, "We just got back the test, and that house that we just bought is tested for positive." In the hospital with a new heart rate spike of 203, not even a seizure, something new that we're dealing with, the metabolic change and keto and stuff like that. I'll keep it there. And we lose our new house that we just purchased. So now we're like, okay, this is not just our house issue. This is a house issue in Texas with the exact precise issue we've had, which is HVACs. So if you guys do have HVACs and you live in Texas, get these monitored, get these cleaned, get air. We have Aris air filter or Aris not air doctors. We have Aris, what are they called? Air scrubbers. We have dehumidifiers being put in our house right now, as you can see behind me. And we also have air doctors throughout the house, and we've done every bit of due diligence. So we have UV lights in there and everything, because we were preventing this issue from happening in this new house. So it fell through. We're like, at that point, like, we were fine. We were searching for houses. I'm not gonna lie, that took a spiral. We felt horrible. However, like literally 3 seconds after hearing that, I literally am on Redfin searching for new houses, telling my realtor, let's find a new house. And we find a new house. This other house we're in right now, we actually toured. I actually liked it better personally, but I let my wife kind of choose. And so I was like, we can go to the other house, but I was like, hey, Aaron, this other house is still open, but it was off the market. So we toured it. They took it off the market. It was like crap. I was like, get to the realtor. If you can, Dennis, like, it'd be amazing. Dennis Tuttle, shout out to you. If you are in Texas and you guys are needing a realtor, look up Dennis Tuttle. This is a shout out to him. I'm not getting paid for this. He's phenomenal human being. Good realtor, great realtor, better human being. So he finds us his house. He gets in contact, and we're in negotiations with the home buyer or the homeowners, and we get offered. We offer the house, and this is a couple weeks after, and we're kind of still searching for homes. We're considering moving all over the place. We're like, I don't know if we can stay in this neighborhood, to be honest, because like there's no other houses. Literally, like if we don't get this house, like, and there's other issues with this mold, like we might have to build from scratch. Like we're such a dark place. We're in the hospital searching, all that kind of stuff. So we get home, we kind of reassess, we kind of retour this house, we make an offer. We're desperate at this point in time. I'm like, just get the house. I don't care. I'm not negotiating. Just whatever they want, take it. They accept the house. We get the mold mycotoxin test back, and we walk by this house every single day. We're walking through the neighborhood, and we're like, and I couldn't even look at the house, if I'm being totally honest. And I was like, Aaron, this issue's so big. I was like, this house has mold and mycotoxins. And I'm not a negative person. I'm pretty positive, not a pessimist at all, like a very big optimist. Every day we walk by this house, I was like, we're not gonna get the house. Like, I know we bought it, but like we're not. Like, this issue's pervasive throughout Texas. Like, we're not gonna get it. And it was 6:00, right for dinner time, and I get a call from the person that tested our house, this new house, to make sure there's no issue. And he called me, so I was like, this might be a good sign. He goes, "You're free and clear." At that point, dude, that was so crazy. My wife and I, like, I literally didn't even know what to say. Like, at this point, we were so distraught. Just like, we didn't think we were gonna like find a place. We didn't know what to tell our family because our family moved here for us. It was crazy. So we like the next week, I think the next Monday we closed because we already had the documents ready. But that was such a crazy time. And like like, talk about getting slugged in the face, knocked down. But if we would have just given in, just said whatever, we would have not gotten this house. We would not be in this position. And as a result, like we're also now in a better spot. We're out of the mold. We're detoxing. Business is doing well. We're helping thousands and thousands of families. We've gotten to a stable environment. We're in a just much better spot. We also appreciate it 10 times more. I think what a lot of people get confused with, like, financial freedom. They think, like, financial freedom, you have it and there's no other issues in life. Like, I'm still human. I can't really prevent a mold issue and mycotoxin issue in an HVAC where I've never experienced. Just a very crazy situation where most people would never notice, but we have a neurologically complex child, so we find out first the hard way. Like, there's still many challenges that we face. And every single time, we find a way to make it better. And if you're dealing with anything, it might not feel like you're winning. It might not feel like you're pushing forward. In fact, it never felt like we were, like, still to this day, we're financially free in a beautiful house, in a beautiful neighborhood with our child that's doing very well. She's on the rebound. We're all detoxing. We feel great. But it's never felt like we were winning. And we've had every win under the sun, every trophy under the sun. I mean, my national bestseller is sitting right here. Literally says national bestseller at the top. It's a beautiful thing. I actually have it right here. I have like 9 copies because how proud I am of it. National bestseller. You guys can get it in the show notes if you want. But I say this because, like, if you're going through some shit, stick with it. Realize that there's a reason. Because if you are going through that, you have an experience that nobody else has. And if you play victim, like, oh, woe is me, I can't do this, you're not going to win. It's not going to help you. It's not going to help anybody. So why even waste your time? Always find the opportunity in everything. The second the house fell through, instead of complaining, it was like, wow, holy crap, I can't believe it happened, which was take a second to breathe. You can take a second to have emotion. I get that, you're human. I have emotion as I speak to you. But if I let that consume me to the point where I want to take steps forward to help the family, we want to be in the spot we're in. We want to continue to be financially free. We want to be getting the house in the beautiful neighborhood that we have. We want to be a national bestseller. I want to have my CPA. I want to continue to win at every level I hit, to the point I have zero, like, nothing can stop me. Literally on my phone, it literally says nothing can stop me. On my whiteboard, it says nothing can stop me. It's bad to bet against me. It's bad to bet against us because of the mindset that we've adopted. You can feel the emotion. You can feel what's going on in your situation. You can be human. But how you respond to it determines your life. I want to leave you with this today because I think this will be very empowering, not to only somebody that's going through, let's call it financial freedom issue, like they want to hit financial freedom or they have some debt. Like, that's, I don't want to downplay that, guys, but that's small scale to real life situations. And when you get hit with real life situations that aren't money related, that money can't fix the shit we've gone through. It can help. It can bridge some gaps, but it doesn't fix everything. You still go through challenges as a human being that you can't fix. I want you all to listen to this message and to use this as your motivation to fight through whatever you're going through right now, because your life depends on it. And I'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Money on My Mind with your host, Brendan Schlagbaum. If you found value in today's discussion, share it with someone who could benefit from it too. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, so you never miss a money mastery tip. Until next time, stay passionate about your financial journey and keep taking bold steps towards your money goals.